Hey, everybody, welcome. My name is Kate Travers, and today we're going to look at understanding attachment by deconstructing Love is Blind. I'm an attachment therapist. I've been a therapist for more than 25 years, and you can thank my youngest daughter for getting me into Love is Blind this season and putting me in the group chat. Here we are today, looking at that series through the attachment lens. If you haven't watched it, you should go back and watch it. And if you have watched it, I think you should go back and watch it after you've seen this and see what you notice that is different. I wanted to do this because I know I started working with attachment, like I said, about 25 years ago, but it's become much more popular in common conversations now. So hopefully this isn't going to be too chaotic. It's probably going to be a couple of different parts. This first part is going to be about what attachment is and looking at the ideal attachment style. And then we'll start to look at the attachment styles that people tend to want to heal, right? And so this one's going to be a little less heavy on clips from Love is Blind, but it's going to give you the foundation for how to look at the clips as we get to those. So good idea to have a working definition of what attachment is. And an easy definition of attachment is that it refers to our early childhood relationships with our caregivers and the ways in which those relationship patterns set us up for life. And why does that matter? It matters because attachment's been studied in longitudinal studies from across cultures for 70 plus years. And I love to emphasize that because so much of our research is on white men. This actually is research that has been done across cultures. And what we find is that across cultures, we have about the same distribution of different types of attachment style. So about 60% secure, about 30% insecure. I'll go into the different styles, and then about 10% disorganized, and which is a type of insecure, but a special type. And what I love about Love is Blind season 6 is that it shows them all. And so I wanted to really give clear examples. Of course, I have not treated any of the people on the show. And I know also that any of the reality shows are going to be heavily edited. So what I'll be showing you are examples of what it would look like if you have this attachment style. We'll see similar conversations that come across differently based on attachment style. And it's going to help you to identify your attachment style and the attachment style of people around you. The results from those 70 plus years of research in longitudinal studies that look at multiple generations of families are very clear that no matter where you live, no matter where you come from, and again, this is not just across cultures, it's across economic status, it's across religions. Your attachment style, equal distribution in those places. Your attachment style is directly related to your cognitive, social, and emotional outcomes throughout your lifespan. And what that means is when you have security of attachment, you're more likely to pick healthy relationships, a job that you like, you're more likely to have life satisfaction, and we can even tie it to your physical health. Your body is less stressed overall because you feel supported and secure in your life, and you're less likely to have long-term health issues. The way you come to understand yourself through your relationships with your parents without intervention, because it can change over the lifetime. But for the majority of people, your attachment style at 1 year old is going to be your attachment style in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. It sets you up for life. So at this point, a lot of people say, well, I just don't want to hear how messed up I am. It's not going to get any better anyway. So why bother? I'm just going to turn this off now. But I'm an attachment therapist. This is my lens. And what I know is that you can find security of attachment no matter what. We're going to look at what you're looking to get to first, right? And so your part of your brain that is malleable for attachment is malleable, moldable, fixable, longer than any other part of your brain. So I have people in my practice in their 60s and even 70s who are working on some of this stuff, right? We can heal our attachment style. And I say that not just because I've seen it in practice. I say that because I've done it. I'll just let you know from the outset. In order to be a therapist that works with attachment, in order to do some of the interventions that I've learned, I needed to have my own attachment style assessed. And while I'm secure now, I would have been categorized as disorganized, and you'll find out why that's the one you really don't want in childhood, but it is healable and fixable. And we'll get to see some of that through the characters, the people. They're not characters. They're playing themselves. So. Okay, so what do you need to know? You need to know that there are really 3 basic types of attachment. One has 2 categories. There's secure, which is what we're going to look at first. Like I said, I have little gold bars there because it's what you want. It's the gold standard. There's insecure, and you can have 2 types of insecure. One is avoidant and the other is anxious ambivalent, right? You'll hear me just kind of call it ambivalent. And then there's disorganized. And so these are the categories that we give children. We can give it to them at, we can assess their attachment style, like I said, at 1 year old, through what's called a strain situation. But, I've been doing this for years. We're not going to go into that right now. You can look that up actually on YouTube and find some examples of strain situations. But again, that's what we've been doing for like 70 years. So you get categorized, secure, insecure avoidant, or insecure anxious ambivalent, or you get categorized as disorganized. And let me move myself. What we know is that your categorization as a child, your attachment style, is it sets the foundation for your behavioral strategies. How do I handle things, right? What is my behavioral strategy when I'm dealing with something that gets in my way? Those behavioral strategies turn into relational strategies in adulthood. So a securely attached child becomes, their relational strategy is secure, right? But an insecure avoidant child becomes a dismissive adult. An anxious ambivalent child becomes a preoccupied adult. We'll look at each of these a little more in depth. And a disorganized child becomes what we would call an unresolved adult, unless there's intervention. Okay. So what does all this mean? Security. If I'm a little kid and my parent is responsive to my needs, I feel safe, I feel seen, right? I feel secure. I play peekaboo and somebody immediately engages with me and says peekaboo back, right? I have a wet diaper and I start to fuss and somebody notices my wet diaper and changes it, right? I'm going to build, if I have it enough, and enough is a really important word there. And like some of you on here probably are parents and you're going like, oh no, I'm just going to feel really bad about myself at the end of this. You're not, because I have wonderful news. This is like my favorite statistic. Good enough means meeting those goals for like meeting needs first time, wet diaper, needing comfort because I skinned my knee, needing somebody to be like delighted in me and my ability to learn to walk and things like that. I need to meet those needs accurately first time, 30% of the time. 30% of the time. The best parent on the best day can only do it 50%. right? So that is awesome news. And the reason that we are like that we only need it 30 to 50% of the time for security is because we need resilience in our brain, right? We need to be able to handle it when things don't go our way. But if I have that 30%, I'm going to know I am valuable. What I do matters, right? When I hand you the toy phone, you take the toy phone and you talk into it. Because when I do this, you do that. What I do matters to you, right? You care about me. People care about me. I begin to assume that people care about me. And it helps me know how to identify safe people, right? So when you think about it, and my parents are being responsive to me, then I go to preschool, right? And I go to the sandbox and somebody says, you can't play in the sandbox with me. What am I going to do? I'm going to say, wait, that's weird because I'm used to people liking me and what I do matters. And I'm going to say, no, I want to play in the sandbox. And they say, no, you can't play in the sandbox. What am I going to do? Adults care about me. I'm going to go to an adult and I'm going to say, hey, they won't let me play in the sandbox. And if the adult doesn't do anything, I'm going to get in the car and I'm going to be like, the weirdest thing happened today. I told the teacher and she didn't let me play in the sandbox either, right? I'm going to come to my parent. I'm going to ask for help because my belief is that I matter. And so I'm confused when it seems like I don't. So I'm going to find situations where my value is recognized, right? We've researched what securely attached adults have, the qualities of a securely attached adult. And so if you are watching this and you're going, well, that's not me, or that's some me, but not all me, these are the things that you're going to be working toward for your own security of attachment. You're going to learn to give care to others. Some of you were really good at that. Some of you are going to have to learn to receive care from others. That can be really hard for a lot of people. You're going to want to know your unique autonomy. Let me move myself away from these words again. Where's my little cursor? And then you're going to learn to appropriately negotiate your needs. That's what those words say. There's my cursor. Okay. Know your unique autonomy. That just means I know what I like. I know what I don't like. I know who I am, right? I know my favorite color. I know what kind of people are good for me. I know what works when I'm upset, like to calm me down. I know my unique autonomy. And then, like I said, appropriately negotiating your needs. Okay. So these are the things we look for. And if there are any of those, what I'll say right now before we go into the clips is attachment is a spectrum, just like everything else, right? And so you may say, well, I have that in this one area of my life, but not in this other area. What that probably means is that you had different relationships with different caregivers because we can have different styles of attachment with different caregivers. If you have one caregiver in your life, in the span of your life, that you have been securely attached to, your likelihood of building security of attachment with other people is much, much higher. And you can build on that. You can have basically like a snowball effect of building security of attachment because you can identify it, right? And now this is clear. These are the qualities that I'm looking for because I'm looking for other securely attached adults, right? So, like I said, spectrum. So you might see some qualities of this and then other qualities that you're going to need to like work towards. So when we look at Love is Blind, the people that I identified as being portrayed as securely attached, again, go watch the show. Tell me if you disagree. Tell me if you agree. Tell me other examples that you see of security. But the people that we saw that were securely attached were Brittany, Johnny, and Amy. And it's interesting because a lot of people in like the critiques of the show, they're like, Brittany, Johnny, and Amy, for Johnny and Amy, they're like, well, that's kind of the boring couple. Security can look kind of boring. It's not dramatic because they know how to negotiate their needs, right? They know they know who they are. And that doesn't lead to a lot of like kind of drama, right? So I'm going to
I don't
show
know. I feel
you,
like we live in
I'm
such
going to show
crazy
you
times.
a little clip from Johnny and Amy discussing birth control. I want you to know that there are spoiler alerts coming, like big ones, not for every single person on the show. Some people I don't even talk about at all. But if you haven't watched it and you don't want spoiler alerts, go back and watch it. It's on Netflix, season 6. Love is Blind. And if you like these, I'll do more of them. But we're gonna watch Amy and Johnny talking about their concerns about some of the things where they don't necessarily like match up because they are considering marriage.
That like my mindset is about living in the moment. It's obviously very, very crucial to think about the future, but I'm more about like living in the present, enjoying what you have, like, you know, living it up while you can, because you really never know. In a sense, it's a good thing to kind of rub off on you, because I feel like you're way more frugal, but like I feel like you should, you know, live it up. It is nice to enjoy like some of the good things in life.
And I'm not saying like never like do anything. Like, I still want to like travel and do trips too, but like
100%.
I really want to just be able to say like, hey, at like 50 years old, like that's it, and then like actually be there for like kids and like enjoy that time.
Yeah.
But, like that's one of the big things I'm like looking for is like make sure that I'm financially secure before I ever have kids.
I feel like we're on the same page in terms of our timeline, because I told you it's not happening for like another 5 years. That's the goal. The birth control thing is like, you know, still a thing that I feel like we still have to figure out like a plan for.
I think the next big jump for us really right now would be like to buy a house.
Yeah.
But not to like support a child too. If like we do actually have like an accident, like there's like a you know, like you do get pregnant or something like that happens, like I don't know. It's one of those things where like I want to make sure like I'm financially secure first before doing that. Every single year we have to get them basically a brand new wardrobe because they're gonna grow out of it.
I want you to notice that they're talking about big things right now. Notice their level of regulation. Like nobody is intense in their emotions. They're talking it through, right? They're not necessarily agreeing on things. But when you think again about giving care, receiving care, knowing your unique autonomy, and appropriately negotiating your needs, they are doing these things. They are giving eye contact, that's giving care. They're listening to each other. They're talking about their needs, and they clearly have thought through some of these issues.
Food, like
It's a lot.
things, like it's scary. Like I don't want something like that because it's the way I grew up, and I want to make sure it's a little bit different for them. So.
And I mean, like I feel like we come from very similar upbringings, so I'm the same way.
Literally can happen anytime. 9 months from now, we got a little, you know, Amy Jr., John Jr. coming through.
Yeah.
That's something I'd be terrified of.
Like, let's say hypothetically in 1 year, we get pregnant accidentally. I feel like, it would be a lot, but like we still would have a home, and like we could take care of a child. It just wouldn't be in the best ideal financial situation.
And that's what I was telling you in the pods, like, I don't want that period. Someone I was like in love with or like in a relationship with was almost always on birth control. Like that's how it was in the past.
I think that's honestly like our road. I think that's I don't know if I want to get on birth control just yet. I know I mentioned a vasectomy.
I know. And there is. It's always a second option too. Like it's not just like the girl's like job too. So like I don't want to like make it seem like I'm saying like do this or like this is the only way I think like to do things, because it's not.
You see how they're listening to each other, right? And they're letting each other know their stance, right? But it's not intense. It's not like this is not a fear-based conversation. They are talking about things that they're worried about, but it's not like it's not like if it doesn't happen the way I want it to happen, everything's the end of the world. Sorry, let's go back to where it was.
that's what I was telling the pods, like, I don't want that period. Someone I was like in love with or like in a relationship with.
I don't know if I want to get on birth control just yet. I know I mentioned a vasectomy.
I know. And there is. It's always a second option too. Like, it's not just like the girl's like job too. So like, I don't want to like make it seem like I'm saying like do this or like this is the only way I think like to do things, because it's not.
I feel like Johnny's fear about the whole kid situation is like the biggest roadblock to intimacy.
Are you guys essentially intimate at this point?
No, I don't think we're gonna wait until I don't think we're gonna wait until marriage. And I feel like Johnny's really scared. I don't know. I feel like using protection, like that's not enough for him. I've never been on birth control. Like, I've had talks with my gynecologist. It is ideal to be on birth control because I have to constantly get infusions. I am anemic. It would be ideal to do that, but I like how regular everything is in my system. I don't want to alter anything, and so it is a lot as a woman to like make these decisions. And I've talked to Johnny. I was like, you know, men can also get vasectomies, and there is a risk there. But I aspire to be a mom. Johnny aspires to be a dad. I feel like we would be amazing parents together. I totally see it. We are just fearful of it happening too soon. I think that's like our main roadblock right now. And
Okay. So you see that? And I want you to remember this because we're going to watch other conversations about disagreements or insecurities that people have. And I want you to notice I call it like the rev in the engine. There's not real like major rev in these engines. They're talking it through. They're figuring it out. And look at security. When I'm securely attached as an adult, if I don't know the answer, I'm going to have conversation with people that I trust, good, safe people. I'm going to educate myself. I'm going to do my research to figure it out, right? So then I want you to watch this much more difficult conversation. Brittany is another person that identified as being portrayed as securely attached. I don't know. I never treated her, but this is what security looks like. This is a much more difficult conversation because this relationship is not working out. I told you there are spoiler alerts. And so I want you to also, again, notice the rev that she has in her engine when she's talking to Kenneth about what's not working.
Remember I got them done yesterday?
You want one blue?
Yeah.
I can dig it.
My toes.
Man.
Oh, let's talk about you waking me up last night. Let's speak on that. At 1:30 a.m. in the morning.
I did.
With all the lights on.
I did wake
She does something really masterful there. She does what we call a soft startup. And that's really important in relationships. And she's trying to ease into this conversation that is difficult for her. But I'm just pointing that out.
you up.
Correct. When I had to get up at 5 a.m. in the morning.
You did. I hesitated a little bit at first, but I was like, let's take it a second.
You said, baby. And I turned around and I was like, I know good and well this man is not making me get up right now.
Let's say good night, you know, that's all I wanted.
Yeah.
It's a little good night. I want you to go back to sleep. You know?
With all the lights on.
I'll wake you up, because, you know, I'm trying to, you know, be like, hey,
I was like, who is this?
what's wrong?
Well, you
Back
have
home.
how many silly goose?
Let's clarify, because if you acting like I'm just out here just not trying to be home, went to get my hair twisted. I wanted to go see my mentor, and I called you between each transition of what I was doing.
Yeah.
Girl,
And you got home very late.
I hear you, right? Like, I hear your perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Only thing I'm asking transparently is that you don't allow for me to have gotten home late one night
Yeah.
to be the thing that shifts your mindset about me.
Remember I got them done yesterday?
You want one blue?
So I just want to point out here that he just twisted this conversation on her. She started a conversation where she said, hey, you woke me up in the middle of the night last night, and I didn't really love that. And then you left all the lights on, and you knew I needed to get up at 5 a.m. And he turned it into, don't act like I'm running around town I told you everything I was doing. That wasn't what she said. She kind of said, like, I don't really want to be woken up like that in the middle of the night. Right. And then he said, don't make this everything. Right.
Right? Like, I just don't want one day of me getting home late.
It's not. I don't know like how to pinpoint it, kid. I really don't, and I wish I did. But I feel like, when we do talk about us, our minds and our heads are like right there with one another. Like what we want out of a marriage is there, but like where's like the intimate feeling between like us and like the crave of like us having what we want in a marriage, or like the desire to have it between us. Like I feel like that desire and crave between you and I is like the missing piece.
For you.
Because everything else is aligned.
For you. Because for me, that's not true for me. So if you feel like you don't have a crave for me, thank you for telling me that. But I don't feel like I'm missing the crave for you. I feel like I work a lot. There are times where I am trying to be affectionate to you, and you may feel like you don't want it at the moment. Normally, like when I kiss you, it's like a kiss and you just go back. So cool. I'm a respectful man. I'm not gonna force myself or push myself up on you. I'm gonna take what I see to be something that you are comfortable with, or a way that you are comfortable with.
I just want you to notice here where she's not overly revved. Her engine isn't overly revved. She's going to get a little bit emotional, but she's still she's kind of like in her body. She's not dissociated in any kind of way. She's listening to what he has to say, even though he's really not meeting her where she is. He's definitely not seeming very curious about where she is. And we're going to talk about kind of when we talk about avoidant attachment. But notice how he's not really joining or curious or saying, tell me more about that. He's just kind of saying, for you. But she's not getting overly emotional about this. She's keeping focused on the conversation.
Like proceeding.
Yeah.
But even last night when I woke you up, I was trying to be very affectionate. You pushed me off of you. I was in that mode and you weren't. So when we talk about like why are certain things not progressing,
he wakes her up when she's sleeping to try to be intimate with her, not have sex because they've decided not to have sex before marriage, but to be intimate with her. And in part, I'll tell you about him being avoidant, but that's a very dismissive, avoidant attachment thing to do because she had no emotional needs at that moment. She was sleeping. And he felt comfortable to do it then. And he's saying like in day-to-day life, basically, they don't feel like being intimate at the same time. That makes sense. Oops.
to be something that you are comfortable with, or a way that you are comfortable with, like proceeding.
Yeah.
But even last night when I woke you up, I was trying to be very affectionate. You pushed me off of you. I was in that mode and you weren't. So when we talk about like why are certain things not progressing, we're gonna also be introspective about the parts that we are playing too.
Good idea, Ken.
In that role. And right now, being transparent, I don't feel as if you are being introspective about the role that you have played for me as a man in regards to that level of intimacy. Because like last night, I did want to. I did want to not to do anything like sexually, because we have been going true with this vow that we made to each other and to God. But I definitely came to you and just wanted to like love on you, because I did get home and you were sleeping before you went back to sleep, and you wasn't in that mindset. I didn't take it personal though. I accepted it.
Yeah.
If you're in the zone, like if you're like business, if you're in like I got to make this happen, that doesn't really give like I want intimacy.
Right.
That doesn't really give I want to be held, I want to be touched. That gives like stay out of my way, let me get this stuff done.
You're gonna hurt your
It's okay, I'm good. But that's the thing that is how you show up often, and I've had to accept that because I chose you. I think where I am getting the most concerned about is when you start to question the status of our relationship. And to me, I wonder, when life continues to happen,
Yeah.
is it going to always be a question about how I feel about you? I can't talk about the crave. I can't talk about the crave because, like, only you, like, I can show up as me. But, like, if you don't have a crave for me or us, that's true and that's you. I've never been engaged before. I chose you. I can't just allow moments or a day to be the thing that makes me say,
Right. It can't be
I
the
wonder how
determining
Brittany
factor.
feels. I wonder if she's still locked in with me.
You can't take a day to wonder how Brittany feels or a moment. The little moments are big moments. And that's not just on this show, right? The ways that we treat people in small moments are the ways that we treat people in larger moments. Do you see that she's staying engaged in this conversation despite him really flipping things on her? Because she kind of said, hey, you woke me up. And now he's saying, I can't have these little moments be you deciding whether we're in or we're out, right? But she's still staying engaged with it. She can't quite pinpoint what it is. She's going to tell him that in a second, but she can't quite pinpoint what it is. You don't always know right away when you're securely attached, but you know something and you trust your instincts about people.
Now, the craving thing, that is a feeling that you should have, that if you don't have that, that's a valid concern.
Yeah. I am very affectionate. Very, very affectionate. We barely kiss and like haven't made out. And for some reason that just seems really awkward to me. I think that I think it upsets me so much because I want so badly to be able to experience like so much of that crave that I had with you in the pods. But it's just scaring me that I don't like, that I'm not feeling like that consistently. Even with the promise that we made, I would have still enjoyed that temptation of being like, no, like, oh my God, like I can't, like, holy cow.
Okay, so go back to the show, watch the rest of that, right? But just pointing out, even when she's emotional, she's present, she's in the conversation, she's listening to him, she's giving feedback, right? She knows who she is. She wants to be in a relationship where there's desire, where there's crave, and she's not feeling that. She's not quite sure why. And we'll talk about that more when we go into avoidant attachment. But this is what security looks like. I know who I am. She's giving care. She's touched him several times. She's worried about him hurting his watch. She's given eye contact. She's been soft with him. She's tried to receive care. He's not giving much of it. She's known who she is, what she wants, and she's trying to negotiate her needs. He's not really present in that conversation with her, though. And so she does end up saying, like, this isn't really working for me. But this is what security looks like, right? This is what secure attachment looks like. Gives us healthier, happier outcomes in the end, right? Because she's going to be able to identify a relationship where she does have those qualities that she's looking for. So I'm going to end part 1 here and come back for part 2, where we talk about avoidant attachment and what that looks like. Thanks so much for joining me, guys.